Okay, welcome to the Success, Money, and Marriage podcast. My name is Steve Siebold, and this is
Dawn Siebold.
My wife, 37 years.
Lucky man.
37 years. You say lucky man?
Lucky man.
Lucky. I feel lucky, believe me. That's a long time. I mean, there are trees that are not that old. I mean, that's a long time. So the purpose of this podcast is to talk about some of the things that we've learned in terms of building a business together, succeeding together as a couple, failing together as a couple. Of course, there's lots of stories we have there.
More of those than the success.
Yeah, more of those than the success.
More failures.
Yeah, we work all over the world as speakers and authors, and people ask us. Matter of fact, we were out in Arizona just the other day, speaking to a crowd of entrepreneurs, and the first question we get is, how do you work together? How do you keep it together? How do you not get divorced over, business stuff and whatever? So we feel like there are a lot of people out there who like to, because we've been getting this question for over 25 years of being on the road, right?
Right.
And it's not the easiest thing to do. There's a lot to navigate when you're a couple and then you're building a business, especially when you're having extreme success. Or extreme failure, right? It can be really, in the middle is not so tough. But that's kind of the purpose of the show, to help people navigate this process and kind of share some of the stories that we've had. And that's kind of my idea for it.
Yeah, well, so maybe give them a little bit of background. We met in college and...
Why don't you give the background then, Smarty Pants?
Because, I think it's a good idea. So we met when we were first years in college. I was my first or second year, and Steve was his first year. And,
that was you?
And
I remember you.
I was a little lighter back then.
Yeah, okay. I'm not going to touch that on a 10-foot pole. Are you kidding me?
You had a lot less wrinkles.
I like to live.
You had hair.
Oh, no. Really?
Okay, all right.
This is not a good kickoff.
So we went to college.
This is not good.
So we went to college.
Well.
We went to college together, and we decided to graduate and start a business. And so Steven's never actually had a job.
I've had jobs.
You have not.
Well, when I was a kid, I had a job.
Since we've met, you have not had a job.
No, who's going to hire me?
Yeah,
Come on.
yeah. Try telling your parents that I'm marrying this guy, but he doesn't plan on working. Didn't go over very well.
I was hoping to be a trust fund baby, but that didn't really work out.
Happened.
Or marry one, but that didn't work out either.
Hey.
So
lucky man.
No trust fund for us.
So we've always been entrepreneurs and have had a lot of success and had a lot of failures. And so we started off at 20 and 21 together, and have been going along ever since.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty good. That's pretty good summation of it. Yeah. Yeah. So we started our first business actually when we were in college. We got an Amway. And which was pretty interesting because we had, this is a long time ago.
This is you. This is your sponsor. You don't work for your sponsor. I still remember that.
Your sponsor works for you. Yeah.
I still remember that first.
Yeah. We went to an Amway meeting. I'd never heard of Amway. This is 1984.
Right.
And we had just gone to college in Mobile, Alabama, at the University of South Alabama. And I'd never heard of it. I came back and I told Dawn about it. I said, you're not going to believe it. This is like the greatest thing I ever heard in my life. And so we found out that everyone but us knew about Amway.
Every single person. Every person we talked to.
Yeah. And we converted our my dorm room.
No, they didn't hear about Amway. They said, it's not Amway, is it?
It's not Amway, is it? Yeah, right. Which was really kind of ironic because years down the road, we would become friends with Richard DeVos, who founded Amway.
Right.
And I interviewed him 3 times. He was one of the richest people, of course, in the world. And he became, I wouldn't say a friend, but certainly an acquaintance of ours. And we spoke together on programs and did charity events and stuff. Great guy. And that was kind of our foray into business.
Right.
And we pretty much failed at that. That was the beginning of our failure streak.
It was the very beginning of our failure streak, but I wouldn't trade a day of what we did in Amway. I think one of the things that it really taught me was in Amway or any network marketing company, the husbands and wives work together. Yeah. And so that was where we first really started working out
That's when I should have run away the first time. I should have known better.
Yes, I
Get
know.
away.
You should
Get
have.
the hell out of here, right?
Yeah, I would have chased you.
But no, I didn't.
I would have chased you. But
You're not that fast. I mean, no offense. So you're just not that fast.
7 marathons. I've run
7 marathons.
I've run 7 marathons.
I know you have.
They weren't fast.
I'm not saying anything because you really worked hard for those marathons. They were.
I finished.
They were not fast.
I finished.
You did finish. I'll give you credit. 26.2 miles, long way to go.
Remember that one when they were picking up the cones behind me?
I was helping them pick up the cones. They're like, who is this girl?
How can you be the very last one?
Yeah, well, it's a long way to run.
Someone has to do it.
Someone's got to be last.
I was last, and you could hear them picking the cones up behind me. I kept turning around.
Ricky Bobby, first or last.
Okay.
In this case, you were last, but that's
was
okay.
last. That's
yeah,
okay.
you ran 26 miles. I couldn't have done it.
Right.
Even in my best days playing tennis, I couldn't have done it. That's a long way. So yeah, so we started out with Amway, and we we didn't succeed at it, but we certainly learned a lot of things. Kind of gave us a taste for entrepreneurship, and we always kind of had that bent, or I kind of had that bent, and you were not sure what you really wanted to do.
Well, the first time I'd ever been in personal development.
Yeah,
First time I'd ever read personal development.
Yeah,
book.
it turns out a personal development, and that's, of course, I ended up being an author, personal development author my whole career, and speaker as well, and on mental toughness and whatnot. And so we've been building businesses, around the world. We've operated in 10 countries, we've had offices in 10 countries, and different businesses we've had. And the truth of it is, the long and the short of it is, we've had massive success and we've had massive failures.
Right.
And so we're trying to keep the balance going toward the success and away from the failures. But during the pandemic, it's the two of our businesses now are live event businesses. So the last 2 years have not been the greatest financially. Been a challenge. But because when you do live event businesses and there are no live events anywhere in the world, it turns out to be a challenge.
It's a challenge.
But you know what? That's one of the lessons that I think we learned from different business mentors over the years, is that when you're doing well, you hoard cash because it will go down at some point. The cycle will turn on. No one knew the whole world would shut down, right? Because of a pandemic,
right?
But luckily we hoarded cash, and that's the only reason we're still here. We survived. But that's one of the lessons I think we can talk about it for those of you that are building a business or want to build a business. Is business goes in cycles, and probably so does marriage in a sense. It kind of goes up and down. And you have to, when it goes up, you have to realize it's not going to go up forever. What goes up will come down, and what goes down will come up if you stick with it. So I think you have to know it's cyclical, and I think probably marriage is cyclical too.
Right.
Would you say that?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things we were asked last weekend at the live event that we did in Phoenix. And one of the participants, we were talking about, cycles and business being up and down. And one of the questions was, she said, when business is going really poorly and you're not getting along with your spouse, does it get better when the business is going well? And I thought, well, that was interesting.
That was an interesting question,
because it's actually the opposite. It's actually you know who you're in a fight with when things are down, and that's usually when you and I've gotten closer.
Yeah,
and when it's gotten flush and everything's going great and money's coming in and you're getting booked, then it's not quite that same feeling.
Yeah, I think that was a very interesting question, because we really do get this question pretty much. Not all the time, but any entrepreneur group where couples work together, whether they're
and anytime we speak together, anytime we're at an event together,
because we go back and forth and we play a little, we have a little fun with the audience, and they ask, oh, how do you guys do it after all these years and all that kind of thing. But I think your answer was actually spot on, because I think, because especially like the last, the pandemic years for our live event companies, luckily we had another company that propped us up. But with the live event companies, it's been a tough go, like any other, business that needs people to come to a location.
Right.
But we've had to really stick together, but then when we were flush for so many years before the pandemic, you do have a lot of options and there's a lot of things to spend money on. There's a lot of places to go, a lot of people to see, all these things. And I think maybe it does kind of open up to more challenges with the relationship. What do you think?
I totally agree. When things are going great is when the challenges, when things were tight with you and I, business wise, the relationships, was more solid.
Yeah, that's weird. You'd think it would be the other way. And I think maybe some couples maybe do that. I hear that. I don't know if that's true, but that they fight more when it gets tough. And I guess you would but you can't. You have to stick together, because you're especially if you're a couple and you're a small organization.
Right.
You're in the boat together. You better keep rowing, and you row faster and you row more together.
Right.
Because when you're flush and you make mistakes, or you're fighting, or you're off, you're
it's
in
just
one
looser.
area.
It's just looser.
Yeah, and you can cover it up with money.
It's not as tight. It's not as tight. Yeah,
right.
And I will say the one thing I talked to the lady privately after she asked the question in front of the audience, and I said, if you're not getting along when things are tight and tough, and you're going through some challenges, and the money's not coming in, or the business is not operating like you want it to, chances are it's going to be tough for you to make it when things are going well.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, if it's not, I think a relationship that can sustain. You might as well just cut to it. At the end of the day, it's mostly severe financial stress,
right?
Where you're trying to figure out how to make payroll, or you're trying to figure out how to pay the bills, or whatever it is. if you're not together with that,
Right.
then, during the fight, I mean, you're fighting basically the world or whatever, the environment or the pandemic or whatever it is. And if your business partner is on board with you, you're kind of screwed. I mean, you're in a bad spot. Then if you can't do it when you're down, then you're probably not going to go up.
Right.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. And I think we could finish this segment by the one thing we were taught in Amway when we weren't even married yet.
No,
and I remember Bill Britt on stage at a
Big
huge auditorium at Amway, and he asked who was married or who has a spouse, who has a spouse or who has a partner in the audience, and they said if your partner is not encouraging you to stay in this business, you need to get divorced.
Yeah, I remember hearing that.
He actually said from stage,
Yeah.
if your partner doesn't support you in Amway, you need to get divorced.
So what do you think about that now, all these years later?
Get divorced.
Get divorced? Yeah, I don't think you didn't agree with it then, did you?
I didn't agree with it then.
It's pretty strong.
It's very strong.
Yeah.
It's very strong.
It's almost
You know what?
cult-like strong.
That'll be a conversation we can have in another session.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I would.
It was pretty
say that
cult-like.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was very cult-like.
I was
yeah.
offended.
But I think that at the same time, I mean, maybe
Something to be said for it.
I think there's something. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater thing.
Right.
Maybe what it would be is, at least in my opinion, would be if someone's not, if your partner or we weren't married, of course, like you said, but we were in college.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're not supporting you and encouraging you, it doesn't mean they have to agree with you.
Nope.
Because you want someone to push back if there's pushback to be had.
You want a strong partner.
You want a strong partner. Absolutely, you want a strong partner, of course. If they're not encouraging you and trying to help you when you need help, then you might want to consider. You might want to look into that. I mean, I'm not sure you get divorced, but you might work on it or something. Maybe get therapy. Maybe get help. Therapists are very valuable.
Our mentors.
Or people you can walk through things with. Whatever, it's worth it. But I think that fundamentally they got to be on your side.
Right.
Whether you're up or down, or the world hates you, or the world loves you. If you don't have that person on your side, then I don't think you have a real partner. You have someone. You might be married. There's a certificate that says you're married, but or you're just together. But I don't think you have a real partner. There's a difference.
Yeah, but I want to do a whole segment on this because I think there's a lot more to be said when you're trying to support someone, depending on how much effort they're putting in and how much money they're spending. So I think that could be a whole topic.
I've been meaning to talk to you about all those tennis shoes. We get tennis shoes in here every day. We have a tennis court 100 feet away in the property, 200 feet away.
I don't know what the issue is.
How are you wearing out the tennis? Anyway, the tennis shoes going to our tennis court. It's clay tennis court. You don't wear out shoes on clay. Anyway, we'll talk about her shoe deal. Her tennis. She doesn't buy fancy like red bottom shoes. She buys tennis shoes by the bucket. I mean, it's just.
Do they have red bottom tennis shoes?
Yeah, no, they don't. Thank God they don't. No, was it Louboutin? Louboutin?
Louis Vuitton.
Oh, not Louis Vuitton. Louboutin.
Louboutin.
Christian Louboutin, right? Anyway, so.
Oh, yes, the shoes. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, the shoes. Yeah, exactly.
I lost that for a second.
Anyway, we'll cover that later. So that's basically the gist of the show.
I think so.
And so we'll hopefully, it'll be interesting, and you might pick some ideas up, and we'll have guests on coming on from time to time, that type of thing.
Sure.
That's really all I have to say about the opening. Anything from you?
No, I'm happy you're here.
Okay, well, thanks for coming by to check us out, guys, and hopefully you'll stick with us, give us a chance to in show number 2.